like, he moved it back to Thebes, so, like, they were in their city where they were supposed to be, and, like, he was really trying to do damage control, and he was 10.
Oh, God.
But, I mean, he had, like, after he died, his, like, general was ruling the country, and his poor wife was, like,
left
to the side. And she should have been ruling, but, I mean, there was no heir. So, like,
so she didn't have any power then?
You know, and there was, like, Akhenaten had tons of kids, but I don't think he had any more sons. I think that
they were all women.
Tutankhamun was the last boy, but there was, like, I know that Ankhesenamun, him and Nefertiti had about 6 daughters, I think, and she was the 3rd daughter in the row. So, like, he had a bunch of daughters, he just didn't have any sons.
Right, so there was no one to step up.
Nope. So, yeah, he had an unfortunate life.
Unfortunate life, and then they ripped him apart.
And they ripped him apart! I know, it was awful.
Jerks.
So, all right, and as I said before, the rulers who followed after him, like after he died, the people that were ruling after him, they erased both Akhenaten and Tutankhamun from the history books. Like in the future, where they were listing they were making lists of all the kings of Egypt. They just didn't put them in there.
They didn't put King Tut in there either.
Nope. He was tainted by his
health. And
his father. He was tainted by that whole...
His stupid dad ruined everything.
I mean, and Akhenaten didn't even rule that long. I mean, it was, I think, like 10 years or something. He didn't rule very long.
So he ruled as long as his son did, basically.
Right. And he did way more damage.
Right.
And his son was trying to heal the nation and try to be
strong.
But
because he didn't do enough in their eyes.
Right.
They just, like...
So that's like, they don't even exist. We don't even talk about them. They're gone. They're erased.
I feel bad for King Tut.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
Poor kid. And...
He was ugly.
He was terrible looking. And he married his sister, but I guess they loved each other.
Aww,
like all the things they found of him, it shows her like touching him, and that's like odd. So I think they actually felt love for each other.
Well, even if it was just sibling love,
right?
You know what I mean? Maybe I don't know. It's weird and gross, but
it is weird and gross.
At least someone cared about him.
Yeah. So they did DNA tests, and the 2 fetuses that were found were his daughter. Well, they know for sure one was his daughter, and the other one was inconclusive because it was so degraded.
Okay.
It was a smaller one. I mean, that's like to be expected at that young of an age.
Only 5 months in utero.
Right. So now we're going to talk about the curse.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, so-called curse, right? So out of the 58 people present during the opening of the sarcophagus, 8 died within 12 years. Which isn't out of 58 people in the 1920s to 1940s.
Yeah, people died all the time then.
Yeah, that's not that bad. But like this is speculation because it's so long ago, and the newspapers were rampant with all kinds of stuff that wasn't true.
Conspiracies, right? I'm sure.
I guess supposedly Howard Carter's pet canary was eaten in his house by a cobra.
You laugh.
I never heard that there's a cobra in your freaking house.
I know. I don't care about my thing.
It ate a canary. So, like, canary. That's a sign of anger from the gods, right? Yeah. And Lord Carnarvon, Mr. Herbert here, he died of blood poisoning within, I've read 2 months and 4 months after the opening. Right. Okay. And what happened was, while he was shaving, he had a mosquito bite on his cheek, and he cut it, and he got blood poisoning, and he died.
Because you didn't have probably stuff to treat it then either.
It can't be proven. And they said that it was in the same place. The bite on his face was in the same place as a lesion on Tut's cheek. Ooh. So I was like, oh, that's what the newspaper said. But take it with a grain of salt. You know. But we know what the news does today.
Yeah,
so you can't prove or confirm it. So he was in poor health, obviously. He wasn't recuperating.
Yeah.
So he was frail anyway, so getting septic
probably was not far.
He could have died anyway, wherever he was. And there was a man I read also, Sir Bruce Ingham. He was a friend of Howard Carter's. His house burned down twice after, and he was there. And it said he received a paperweight of a mummified hand.
Ew.
With on his wrist of this hand was a scarab bracelet, and it was marked with the inscription, "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water, and pestilence." And the guy's house burned down twice.
Creepy.
But again, grain of salt.
Right. I kind of like believing that stuff happens, though, because it makes it
does.
exciting.
It's like, ooh. Howard Carter, however, did not believe in the curse. He was adamant that there was no such thing.
He was like, whatever, you guys are stupid.
And he died at the age of 64 of lymphoma, and it was 1939. So, I mean, it was still within... Because they discovered him in 1922. They opened
wasn't that long
ago.
ago.
23. So, I mean, it was
but that's something that people die from.
Right.
So it's some weird...
Was it?
Oh, there's there's more.
Okay, it was rumored that a mummy's curse was outlined on a clay tablet on the outside of the burial chamber. The newspapers said this, but it was later discovered to be fabricated by the newspapers. Like, they made it up. There's like, there's this tablet outside of his tomb that said there's a mummy's curse if you enter, and it wasn't true. It was totally a lie. And they fed the rumor of this curse because it sold papers.
Oh, of course.
A terrible curse was unleashed the moment King Tut's tomb was open. Like,
of course.
I'd buy that paper now.
Well, yeah.
I'd want to click that link.
Yeah, it's clickbait. It's clickbait.
Total clickbait.
They clickbait.
They totally did. And this is a side note, but I love watching stuff about Egypt on TV. And Dr. Zawi Hawass is an Egyptian who is in almost every documentary about Egyptology ever. And his title is the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. It sounds like something from a Star Wars movie.
That's so
and
cool.
I love it so much. Like, I want to be that. It's like, that's a Supreme General of Antiquities.
I want to be a Supreme something.
It's like the best title ever. But some theorists say that all these deaths can be linked to the toxins that were found within the tomb.
That makes sense.
Or like a rare, dangerous species of mold carried by some mummies. And the tomb walls may also have been covered in a bacteria known to attack the respiratory system. Most experts dismiss this idea. They state that because Carter died a whole month after he was exposed to the toxins, or months after, that they would have worked quicker on his body because he was so
sick
frail anyway. They're like, the fact that it happened months afterwards, it had nothing to do with anything that was in the tomb.
Right.
And the British Medical Journal did a study in 2002 on the survival rates of 44 Westerners who were in Egypt. They were identified as being in Egypt at the time the tomb was opened. And they compared their mean age of death for 25 of the people who were present at the opening and examination of the tomb with others who weren't present, but who were in Egypt but weren't there.
Right.
And there was no significant association between exposure to the curse and survival, or with that those exposed were more likely to die within 10 years. So there was like no correlation between the two at all. So I thought that was kind of neat. So it's like, take it, like, I don't know, it's kind of fun to think about it.
Well, and you think you could make anything sound like anything you want.
And you know what? If any mummy was going to have a curse, it would be this kid's mummy.
I know. I feel bad for King Tut.
I do too. Like, it's fascinating. Like, and it's so funny how they did so much to erase him from history, and he's the most well-known pharaoh ever.
Screw you,
like,
jerks.
They just forgot where he was buried. I think he was king for so long, and they wanted to forget about him.
Right.
That they built like a temple over the top of the opening of where his tomb was. So like for a long time, nobody could access it because there was something on top of it. Right. So it's it's interesting to think about.
It's very interesting. And I think that there's some, if you like a curse, like if you're in there ripping apart a mummy and taking his shit, you shouldn't get a curse after you, because don't be a grave robber.
Right. I mean, when they did x-rays of him, he had fractures all over. But they said over 95% of those fractures were caused by the people who found him.
That pisses me off.
Yeah. They
had no care for him at all.
None. Their value was in the
artifacts.
And nowadays, we would find the value in the mummy.
Yeah.
So that's like, don't touch the mummy.
Yeah.
Like contaminate it.
Yeah.
And they have to do a lot to preserve these mummies and the tombs, because there's more tourists going through, which is respiration. So the reason why these have held up for so long is because it's so dry in Egypt.
Oh, that makes sense.
So yeah, it was. Now they have to do a lot. Like, they're trying to put Tut back in his tomb in a special. Like, you can go to the Egypt Museum and see him. He's there.
That's so cool.
And his chariot is there, and it's just like glorious.
I know, just seeing the stuff I saw, the exhibit was really cool, and I knew you loved it, and you talked about King Tut, but I know as much, obviously.
I still have that. You got me, like, stationery.
Yeah.
It was like a piece of papyrus or something.
Something. But it was fascinating. This is fascinating to just talking, like, how they handled the dead and how they did it is just fascinating to me. And, like, it was really cool.
I'll do a whole episode on just how they
I want you to do that, because that's kind of gory and gross.
Yeah, I didn't want to start. I thought about it, but I didn't want to just, like, jump into it. I'll ease into it.
Right.
Like, I don't want to make you grossed out too quick.
But I'm all for grossing me out. Gross me out.
Oh, Colleen, I have something prepared for you.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
I'll probably regret
saying you will. It's a gooey mummy. It's a Chinese mummy, and it's disgusting. And it's fascinating. And when I watched this documentary on it. I couldn't eat because it was so gross.
Oh God!
But I still watched it.
Yeah, of course.
But I lost my appetite. It was great.
It's like when you hear like stories about like I was just listening to the Willie Pickerton story and how gross he is. For Morbid Podcast, which Margaret and I both love. Morbid, they're our heroes. But
oh my God, I love them so much.
Yeah,
shout out to Ash and Elena.
Yeah, we love you. But anyway, watching that made me sick. Or listening to that made me sick. Like I was, ugh, it was so gross. But I also can't stop listening to it. It's like that fascination of that whole. But that was really fun, Margie.
Yay.
So Margaret did her first episode. I did my. So we're going.
And
back.
I exposed my inner nerd.
Yes, because she is a big nerd when it comes to the
It's usually
Egypt.
exposed. I'm fully.
And
exposed.
I'm pretty proud of your kiddos. Her littles are here, and they just kind of were looking and waving and being cute, but they were quiet,
and they're never quiet.
Which I love about them because they're not. That's why I love them. But they did it. They were such good girls, and Jackson was good. He was just probably drawing pictures in the other room.
He came and snuck some of my wine a little bit. A couple sips here and there.
Let me say that wine was delicious. I sucked it right down, and it kept me cool the whole time. I'm not even that badly sweating.
I'm not as bad as I thought it would be drinking wine.
So next week we'll be doing another episode. Back to me. I'm not telling you what it is. We'll give you a little sneak. Try to guess what it is again.
We'll let you know what drink we're drinking.
Yeah, we'll let you know. We wanted to let you know in advance so you can join us when you start listening.
Sing along. It's a drink along.
It's a drink along. You could have some red wine while you listen to this, which was probably, hopefully you did that. So we'll give you that hint. But make sure you follow us on the app of your choice, whether it's Apple Music or Spotify or what other ones are there? Amazon Music or iHeartRadio. Whatever you listen to us, follow us on that. Review us. That gives you the option. It really helps us out. We really appreciate when you do that kind of stuff. And you can follow us on Facebook at The Cousins Weird, and on TikTok, The Cousins Weird, and on Instagram, The Cousins Weird. And you can email us at
thecousinsweird@gmail.com.
Yeah. So hope you have a fantastic week, and we are so happy you listened to us. And creep it real. I did it right that time. Yay! Yay!